Hi, everyone. My name is Lavina Ramchandani, and welcome to Breakpoint by BrowserStack. Today, I will be talking to you around beyond compliance, designing for accessibility and inclusive UX. Also, I will be providing you some insight on how BrowserStack can help you with this. So, without further ado, let's get started. So the main agenda for today is introduction to accessibility and the latest law, which is the European Act of Accessibility 2025. How can we shift left with accessibility? A11Y is a shorter version of accessibility, so you'll see it a lot on my presentation because between A and Y there are 11 characters, so that's why it's a shortened version. What can help advocate for accessibility? The benefits for your customers and your company, and BrowserStack can help you. So, as you know, when we design digitally or just generally for public, we have limited opportunities for those with disabilities. The main as it says, the main types of chronic health problems relevant to web accessibility today are associated around hearing, so total or partial deafness, vision, total or partial blindness, color blindness, musculoskeletal system, various types of paralysis, tremors, lack of limbs, and mental development, which is issues associated with perception of information and remembering. Just gonna move my camera here. So basically, you know that these things exist, and we also don't want to see today's presentation from a perspective of just trying to deliver to a customer, but also from the perspective of how can our internal users benefit from this as well? Because accessibility is not something that we're just providing to the customers, but also improving internal usage because we as testers test a lot and it can get strenuous for us. We can forget things. We can have color blindness. I wear glasses. I'm currently wearing contact lenses. So how can it impact my vision as well, which is situational or temporary disability? So as you can see, 70% of the global websites are inaccessible to people with disabilities, which is a massive percentage, and we want to obviously aim to cut that down. Similarly, two-thirds of the US-based e-commerce stores are losing over 6.9 billion of potential revenues as they are not accessible to users with disabilities. Besides person with disabilities, accessibility should cater to older people as well, children, left-handed users, non-native English speakers, and many more. So I really like this image by Microsoft. It just tells you what kind of disabilities exist, what kind of situational disabilities you're in. Sometimes you have a child and you're trying to type or you're trying to do some other work. How can we make things easier for all of us, generally as a community, being socially aware? Then you've got temporary, you might have a broken arm, but that can be fixed potentially. So it gives you an idea on what exists and how we can cater towards it and make our digital products more inclusive. Something that I really like to talk about is the four sort of WCAG standards here, which are perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. This is what our systems and our products should be focusing on. So perceivable is all things text alternatives. So if you have images, you should have an alternative description at the bottom, time-based media. So if someone is partially sighted or blind, you should make sure that they know that this video is running for a minute or two. There should be some sort of description and some sort of transcript as well for them. Adaptable, so that your products are adaptable to different sort of accessible needs. So if you are making a tool for mobile, you should try and make a version of that in a web-based, for example, or if someone has a special mouse that they're using, that mouse should be usable in that product as well. Distinguishable, so people can understand the differences. And then we come to operable, things that can be keyboard accessible. People like to do keyboard navigations, so we want to make sure there's no traps, enough time for people to understand and digest the information rather than jump into the next video or something. Make sure about seizures and physical reactions, because if you put flashy lights, a lot of fun things that you might think is fun, it might impact someone mentally. Navigable, that there is a good navigation throughout the whole application, top to bottom, not all mixed in different places of a page. And input modalities, you're allowed to basically put different types of keyboards, different types of screen readers, any mouse, any screen protectors. It should still work. We also want to make sure that it's understandable, things are readable, predictable, and have some sort of input assistance. And then compatible in terms of robust. It's compatible on tablets, on mobile, on desktop, and any other products that you might be building for. So everyone's talking about the law. So let's have a look at what this actually is. So the European Education Area, which is basically the European area where we are building these new laws, aims to create a common space for inclusive, high quality education, lifelong learning across EU borders by 2025. The 2020 Commission communication and two 2021 Council resolutions outline the approach, focusing on 5 priorities, and those are improving education quality and inclusion, making lifelong learning accessible, is supporting green and digital transitions, enhancing the education profession, and strengthening EU higher education. And the strategy involves EU level actions, national reforms, resource mobilization, and monitoring in progress. And in that, as we just saw, accessibility played a big role. So let's have a look at what that is. So in 2023, the EU adopted key recommendations on digital education, skills and framework for learning mobility. The European Parliament has supported the EEA's progress, urging for clear targets, adequate funding, and financial instrument in the 2028 to 2034 framework. Parliament has also emphasized learning accounts to support upskilling while calling for stronger European perspective in curricula and teacher training programs. So what actually will the EAA do, the European Act of Accessibility? It will apply to, unlike previous accessibility legislations such as public sector bodies, accessibility regulators, the EAA also covers private sector firms as well. So it applies to any business with at least 10 staff and a turnover of 2 million euros. It applies to any business that trades in the EU. And companies headquartered based outside the EU must comply with the Act if they sell relevant goods or services within the EU. So we know, as we work in the tech world, we are definitely providing solutions and products in the EU. So you may be based, so for example, in India, but you may be working for a European company. So how can we make this be part of our strategy? And one thing I also want to let you all know, we should never wait for any legislation to be able to act upon things. If we are focusing on performance testing, if we are focusing on security testing, these are all non-functional type of testing. So why are we not giving enough weight to accessibility testing is a big question. And we should not wait for big rules like this or penalties to come in. We should always have this somehow embedded into our strategies as engineers. So what does being disabled mean in this context for this new law? It's good to know that about 80% of accessibility issues in the context concern blindness, including low vision and color blindness. The definition includes, among others, people who are deaf or hard of hearing, people on the autistic spectrum, people with dyslexia, and people with physical or motor disabilities. So as explained before, this is now elaborating a bit more with regards to the European Act of Accessibility. What should businesses be doing then? So if we are seeing that a law is coming and we want to prepare for it, what should we be doing? Speak to legal teams to make sure that EAA is on their radar. So I'm sure you all have some sort of legal team in your company or a design team who will be working on accessibility needs. Work out how it applies to your business. and how it can impact. So any risks, IT risks around this. Check the accessibility of products and services. So make sure you are doing some sort of development around this and testing, and make sure there are some audits happening, and create a plan to address any concerns before 2025 or by 2025, because this rule is going till 2031. And by that time, you should be able to have something in place. So the biggest question, how can we shift left? So this is a very, very important question to ask ourselves. And basically, we always think about accessibility towards the end of a development of a product, but how can we bring it in earlier? So by shifting left, we are starting early and testing and developing often. So shift left testing would include accessibility checks early in the development process, during design, development, and before launch, according to tool I saw on Recite Me. Continuous integration also involves basically early, integrates accessibility checks into your CI/CD pipelines according to the X-ray test management as well, because it's being trialed and tested. Regular testing can be done as well early. So conduct regular accessibility tests throughout the development life cycle. And of course, have formal audits, get a formal accessibility audit before public beta version. So there are loads of companies and there are loads of plugins you can actually use. They're free to check how you're doing when it comes to auditing. So there's nothing stopping you if you have an external auditor coming in, but there's nothing stopping you internally to do soft checks. Employ a multi-pronged approach. So have some automated tools. So detect common issues using tools. For UK, for example, for me, I can look into gov.uk. You may be able to look into your governmental bodies in the countries you reside. Have some sort of manual testing, so assess usability for people with disabilities. Have some sort of exploratory testing as well, because you do find things that you may not know before. Have assistive technology, so use screen readers such as NVDA, JAWS, VoiceOver to check content access. This is an important one because JAWS, for example, creates a transcript. And what I've noticed is what the screen reader is reading versus what we've developed and the transcript provided, there are massive gaps sometimes. Sometimes it may start with some transcript, but there may be a gap of the next section because maybe it's an image that you have coded onto. So it won't read that image. So we want to try and provide alternative text. HTML validations as well ensure HTML follows accessibility best practices. And I think what we're doing here is we're working in a collaborative approach. We're working alongside developers, making sure that development is baking in accessibility best practices whilst we are following testing best practices for this. Some focus on key areas as well when it comes to accessibility and building this earlier is the content. So ensure text, images, videos, and audio are fully accessible. Usability-wise, support all browsers, assistive tech, and device types. Navigation-wise, sites should work via keyboard with no hidden elements or dead links. Accessibility testing benefits then, what happens when we bring this early into the life cycle is you get a wider reach, including people with disabilities. I would actually suggest if you have the budget and you can invite people within your usability sessions and get real feedback about the product. Legal compliance wise, you're meeting standards like the ADA or Equality Act earlier. Better UX improves usability for all, reputation boost shows commitment to inclusion, and SEO benefits, of course, improving search rankings with best practices. I really like this image because it describes exactly what we need to do. So I know we have a lot of functional testing, non-functional testing, and as you can see, we've got a lot of validations here, including end-to-end testing, partner integration testing, smoke testing, pen testing. And you can see now for business validations, you've got user acceptance testing, usability testing, accessibility testing, and exploratory testing. So I think for exceptional quality, as this image is sort of providing, we should definitely bake in accessibility because there is a lot of pain when you've developed something and then you're thinking about accessibility, because what you're doing there is you are adding more costs, you're delaying the release of this product, and there are hidden issues that you may end up finding because you're tweaking the code too late in the process. So now the important question, how to advocate for accessibility. This is a topic that can be easy for you if you know how to communicate essential needs, importance, value, opportunities for bringing this into the business, or it may need some sort of work on yourself when it comes to communication and convincing. So these are some of my sort of steps that I have always used and they have worked for me. Doesn't mean that it might work for you. Maybe there might be a easier version for you. So feel free to share with me. But the main thing we should start with is making noise around awareness. So start talking about accessibility, speak to colleagues, speak to other teams, see what other departments are doing. Create some sort of informative slides to give information about why we should be doing this, because there are people in our engineering teams, in our squads, who may not have enough knowledge. Communication wise, work on myself as well of what I want to convey. I mean, I should not be waffling. I should be giving information that's really useful and provides opportunities, value at the end of the day. You can also gather some sort of statistics from your teams that face these issues that are coming live to them. You can also ask them how many sort of accessible issues you have heard complaints about. Give us a percentage. So you can work with that. And that is what some stakeholders actually like to see. You want to speak to individuals and teams because, of course, you never know that there might be a separate department that has accessibility in place, and all you need to do is see how that could work for you in your area. Research, so suggest options. So if you are doing some sort of testing and taking this to the stakeholders, try and provide some options. So say, for example, I found that this color combination wasn't working, but I found the nearest and similar color version, and this looks like it may work. Great. And of course, provide some sort of simple report so that people can take something back with them, study, and then see what can be done and how can we add things onto our backlog. A nice checklist based on the WCAG here, and we are on WCAG 2.2 now, not 2.1. That has been upgraded recently. But a basic checklist can involve anything from this map. You can see this mind map, but also simple things like basic web documents, semantics, headings, images. Just check for these things. For example, for headings, you don't want to jump from H1 to H4 straight away. You want to do the H2, H3 in between as well to have the right sort of semantics. You want to make sure that if there are forms, there are actually forms attached and they are not just dead links. Interactive elements, so basically you can interact with them. Keyboard navigation, color contrast, content, that is timed content, and single page application. So you want to be able to test single pages at a time and then multiple pages together as well. And all of these can be nicely automated as well. So don't only focus on things that you can do manual testing on. Of course, start with manual exploratory, but try and see things that can be automated. Just like you have your integration pipelines, you have your performance testing pipelines, you have your regression testing pipelines, you can also have a CI/CD pipeline for accessibility. So the benefits for your customers and your company that comes with looking into all of this and making sure there are no barriers are the following. So of course, you have a broader reach, as I mentioned before. It's really useful to have a broader reach with accessible sites that attract more customers. And at the end of the day, when you're testing this or developing this, you will also feel comfortable with an application that's more accessible than not. That's what studies have also suggested. You will always have the competitive edge because you're working on this early and you've ticked this box as well. You will also be digitally accessible and legally compliant. So it would be good on your end. You will have an improved UX, which will definitely help people develop, test, as well as use the tool as end users. You will have SEO benefits, and you are complying towards social responsibility towards our community. We want to be socially aware. We want to involve as many people using our tools. We want to be inclusive as a company. So now the big question, how can BrowserStack help you? Well, if you're interested in having accessibility be part of your team as an engineering team or squad, definitely reach out to BrowserStack. They will be putting a poll now if you're interested, and then they can definitely show you a demo of a proof of tech that they've got, and they have loads of customers who are actually working with accessibility needs. So BrowserStack accessibility testing can give you everything from the design, from the test, and from the monitoring. So let's have a look at what they can provide you. From design perspective, they can give you a component scanner, layout scanner, color contrast checker, target size checker, focus order suggestions as well. So you can do your annotations and it's clear. And it's a tool that is very collaborative as well. It's something that you as a tester, a BA, and also a developer will understand very comfortably. Testing wise, it gives you a workflow analyzer, screen readers, assisted test automation options, and PDF scanners as well. And monitoring wise, it gives you a website scanner weekly, daily by just adding your product onto it. They also provide you auditing services like the VPAT reporting, consulting, and usability testing. So driving superior digital accessibility outcomes. You can see some of clients here and their feedback that they've given, and it's pretty positive. Thank you very, very much. And thank you, BrowserStack, for having me once again on your platform. And if you have any other questions, feel free to connect with me on social media. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm happy to connect with you and have a chat on this very important topic. Thank you. Bye.